Starting all over again is gonna be rough on us, but we're gonna make it. It's Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Pacho Man. It's so good to be back at Huggles on the Rocks. My name is Bob.
I need to ask Pancho Man if I can download
edition. How cool is that, Sebi?
Yeah, I was about to say I want to ask Pancho Man if I can download the jingle somewhere as my ringtone in the morning to keep me motivated for 2021 then.
Exactly. Our next guest, two-time Ironman 70.3 World Champion, challenged Roth Champion 2018, 2014 Ironman World Champion. The great Sebastian Kienle joins us from his sauna in beautiful Germany. How you feeling, Seb, after your crash and surgery? You good?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else can 2020 throw at me to make me feel bad. But no, I mean, honestly, it's considering the circumstance, it's pretty good. Yeah, my shoulder is coming along very well. It's not bothering me anymore during training. Just sleeping on the left side is not perfect, but that's not really a problem. We just turned the sofa around.
Exactly. And you got to do a race, which I'm a little jealous of. In September, you got to finally do a race. I know you go back to when you were 12 years old starting a race and not racing for this long. And you had to be going out of your mind. How did it feel to race?
Oh, it was awesome. You know, I mean, I think that comes with age. You look back and everything seems to be purple and super nice. You know, even the stressful Kona race week and even like traveling with two bikes and all that kind of stuff. It feels so appealing to me when it's not there, to be honest. I mean, I mean, on the one hand side, I really missed racing a lot, but then on the other hand, it showed me that I'm still not ready to quit, that I still really love it. You know, it wasn't like, oh, finally a reason to have a off year and to have a little bit of a break from the sport or whatsoever. No, it was actually the other way around. I was like, oh God, I had so many plans and so much motivation for this year, and so yeah, it just showed me that I still love the sport.
It's funny because I think we're a lot alike in terms of we love to race. Like I raced, I think 30 times last year. If I every weekend I like to be in a transition area and not seeing the people, probably more so than the suffering in the race, but just the morning and seeing all your friends. And you know, there's a camaraderie among all you top pros, because I think you sort of know in your sport the best person is going to win. You can talk psychological crap, but at the end of the day, the best person is going to win. So you can be friends with the people you're racing against.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, that even over the years, it became even more important, and you really understand like the lifestyle and everything. At the beginning, when I started my professional career, the only thing was winning, you know, like prove myself, prove that I'm the best, and so on and so on. And then over the year, you really start to enjoy like all the other things. At the beginning of my career, I mean, I don't want to say I hated training, but it definitely wasn't something I love to do. It was more like, I want to win, I have to do it. And that was basically the only reason. But especially during this year, I realized how much it also is therapy for me. To say so. It's just good for your mental state and everything. So, and yeah, like you said, I mean, just the camaraderie and like seeing all the other guys, and it's of course, I mean, it's still a connection there, and you still chat and shoot some messages to everybody, but it's just not the same than hanging around in Kona for whatnot, like 2 months or whatever.
Yeah. So I was reading a great quote from you recently. The more you hate yourself over the last 10K, the more you love yourself at the finish. Talk a little bit about that, because I totally, that just clicked with me. And it's really true, because the more you're suffering at the end of that race, the more you appreciate that effort when you don't quit and you actually get there.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a reason why an Ironman has to be a 3.8K swim, 180K on the bike, and a marathon, because it's all a foreplay for that moment where you don't want to go anymore, where you want to quit, and where you think like, oh, this was the worst idea in my whole life. And if you overcome that moment, that's what really makes you proud. You know, that's more important than everything else. I mean, those are the moments that really stick to you, even like 10, 15 years later. It's not like that you won the race with a new course record, or that you won by 5 minutes or whatever. Sometimes I think it's, even for me, second place can be more rewarding to me mentally than a win, if I know I overcame this like moment where I didn't want to go anymore and I just made myself push through it.
Tell me a couple of experiences like that, because I know when you won in 2014, I think to a certain degree you were looking at, oh, Jan sort of messed up, and yeah, it was, I won, but I didn't beat Jan on his best day. Yeah. Talk about it. Talk about a couple races where you feel like, even if you didn't win, that you had the best day you could have had.
There are definitely a lot of races that can come up when I think about situations like that. Obviously, it was the very first edition of Ironman Hawaii for me in 2012. I had a flat tire. I was in the lead with Marino van Honacker, and I mean, you know, standing there for like 5, 6, 7 minutes next to the highway, I made a big mistake when it comes to like equipment choice, or not equipment choice, but the way I was able to fix it myself. I was really angry about myself at that moment, but I was angry about everything, you know. I was angry about the world and whatever fate, I don't know. And you know how it is, standing there with your aero helmet on and in the heat. It's like the worst 5 minutes in your whole life. Like, it's so terrible. And you hear the clock ticking, tick tock, and then the next group passes by and you think like, oh, this race is over. And I remember like jumping back on the bike, and I just like, I had so much more energy. I felt so, at the beginning I was just angry, and then I sort of like settled in and realized, hey, you can still have something out of this race. And at the end I ended up being 4th place at my very first Kona edition. And also Marino had to drop out at the beginning of the energy lap, and he was in the lead by, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 minutes. And it just, everything condensed in like my very first race. First of all, you learned like, you can always keep going. There's always something in it to fight for. And even if you lead the race with like 3, 4 minutes, you can still have to drop out, and you have no chance. So of course that was one of the experiences. And then I think it's a lot of races I remember that were really close, where I was just able to push through. Another race that pops up is definitely last year at Ironman Frankfurt. I stepped into a piece of glass when at the Australian exit after this first swim lap. And I mean, you know, start a day like that and you realize when you run through transition, oh, there's something really wrong. And, you know, it's a very long bike ride and you have a lot going on in your mind. And, you know, there's a marathon coming up. And I mean, I didn't have any pain at that moment, not at all, but I knew there's something wrong with my foot. And as soon as I have to like step on my heel, it's gonna hurt really, really bad. And so I didn't know what's gonna happen. And I mean, if you have a bad moment, something like that is gonna kill you. I mean, it's you're not gonna be able to push through if you have something like that in your mind. And then I was super lucky. Like the medical team in T1 did a great job, and so I was able to, just at the beginning it hurted quite a bit, but then it was fine, and I realized like it's not something that is holding me back. And I had a flat tire in that race as well, but I was lucky enough this time that it worked like I thought it's gonna work. So tubeless tire with sealant, and the sealant did its job. And so right at the entrance of T2, the tire was basically with no air anymore. And so I mean, I could keep going like this for forever. Over the years, you have a lot of experiences like that, and those are really the experience that that help you not only in the sport but in general life.
Yeah. Well, I was interviewing Cam Wurf about Challenge Roth in 2018, and a conversation I don't think has ever happened before, where he's riding along and he says, Sebastian's trying to go by me, and I said, Sebi, why don't you sit back there and save your legs for the run?
Yeah, I can remember that. It was crazy. I was like, he was in the front like the whole time on the bike, and I thought like, well, I mean, we are riding away from everybody else, and I thought at least I want to like show some goodwill and contribute to the to the chase, and try to show that I appreciate his work, and try to work like to make our gap bigger towards the other guys. And I was just in front for like, I don't know, 400 meters, and I don't know if it was too slow for him, but I was pushing like, I don't know, 415, 420 watts. It was up a hill in grading, and he just passed me again and said like, hey, save your legs for the run, I'm just riding tempo. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, Cam is a crazy dude. I mean, and he has some pretty strong legs, that's for sure.
The other thing, what he said was so impressive, because he had, I think, done an Ironman the week before or something silly. I think he did 8 Ironmans that summer trying to learn the sport, right? And he said, so because I get off the bike and Sebi goes by me, and he goes, he's going to drop out. He looks like crap. He said, then Jesse Thomas goes by and he looks even worse. I'm thinking, I'm gonna end up on the podium here, because these guys both look like crap. There's no way. And then you ran, I think, 247. Jesse runs 244. You win it, Jesse, in third. And he goes, I realized then it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter that you look crap.
I think the main problem here is how Cam thinks he looks like and how he really looks like. I mean, compared to Cam, I think Jesse and I looked like top models on the runway. Because if you would have had a mirror beside the run course and he could see himself, I think he would have realized that he is gonna be the one that will end up in the last place of us 3 or 4. But he's right nevertheless. It's totally right. I mean, you know, I've heard it so many times, especially when I run behind Jan or in front of him. That doesn't happen very often, but because Jan is so tall and he makes so long strides, it sometimes looks slow, but it is not. It just makes big strides, and so the people cheer me on like, you look faster than him, you look faster than him. And I'm like, yeah, might be, but I'm not faster than him. That's just because the splits are getting slower and the gap is getting bigger towards him. So I'm not running faster than him. And the same thing is when you chase Lionel or when he's chasing you, like the people are cheering me on. Like, I think he's gonna cramp. He's limping. But he's just like, you know, limping 320, 315 pace a K, and is catching me and then drops me. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. So Cam is absolutely right. It's not a runway.
So you've had the opportunity to race simply some of the greatest athletes who've ever been in our sport, right? You're in the era with Jan Frodeno and Patrick Lange and with Lionel Sanders, and obviously you're a huge part of that. When you finish second to someone like Jan Frodeno, you could be feeling, gosh, if Jan wasn't racing now, I would be King Kong. I would be winning everything. But you're the type of guy, you want somebody who pushes you to get the best out of you. How important is it to have those type of guys in the sport to keep you in the sport?
Well, I mean, Maka once said, I don't want to be a champion of a nobody sport. And I mean, that's the thing, like, when you race a guy against a guy like Jan, he's not a nobody. And he just, I think he elevated the sport for all of us. And so therefore, obviously, it's a huge motivation, for sure. So it just, I mean, I know sometimes during a race you wish like, it would be so much nicer if none of the short course guys showed up at Nice and I could run down first place at this wonderful finish line. But that's not what you really want. You want to be pushed to the limit, and I mean that means sometimes you end up fourth, fifth place. Doesn't really matter, but it's sometimes you have to taste the bitterness of a fifth place to know how sweet a victory can be.
When I look at last year's Kona, Jan went 7:51, was in a different world. But when I look at second, third, fourth, Tim O'Donnell 7:59.41, and you're right out there at 8:02.04, and Ben Hoffman 8:02.52. So the three of you guys are basically within 3 minutes of each other at the end of a 140.6 mile race that's taking 8 hours. How hard is it to be you're racing that last couple miles of that race, trying to make sure you stay on the podium because Ben Hoffman's out there having this phenomenal run. Talk a little bit about that, the last part of the race when you're trying to hold your spot, you're trying to also think, well, maybe I can catch T.O., and then you've got this guy, Ben Hoffman, coming from behind who's on fire. Just what's going through your head when you see all this? Because you come out of the energy lab, you're seeing everybody and they're seeing you.
Yeah, you already said the right thing with the more you hate yourself at the end of a race, the more you love yourself, and sometimes you need the help of the other guys to really hate yourself. And I mean, at that moment, it's just like, at one point, it's not even till like 30K in the race, I was pushing because I thought there's always a chance that somebody is gonna completely crack. Even Jan is a human being. So even if he sometimes looks absolutely invincible, I mean, he can be beaten. That's for sure. And then of course I thought like, but pretty realistically, I can run down T.O. And then with like 12K to go, I knew probably not going to happen anymore. And I was more looking towards the back and realized, hey, Ben is probably going to chase you down. And at that moment, you just hope that he will be happy with fourth place and that he is in the same pain you are, and that he is just happy that he's not having to fight for the fourth place because fifth place is catching him. So at one point, you're just happy where you are, and you hope like, okay, hopefully he's not motivated enough to try to search on you. But I know Ben very well, and I know how strong he is, especially at the end of a race. I mean, 7 hours 30 into the race, that's Ben's warm up, and so therefore I knew that it's gonna be really, really tough. And I mean, running down Palani Road, I thought like I gonna cramp up, and the people were already like, yeah, super, third place, podium, great, and so on. And you're like, you have no clue. It's not over yet. It's not over until you really cross that finish line. And so, but yeah, that's why you're really happy with the third place at the end of such a long day, is because you really had to fight for it.
You had a quote last year when we were doing our show where you said there's a fine line between being fit and being fucked. I love that. Yeah. And it really came to me. I really saw that Jan Frodeno is on the way to breaking the course record. He's coming across the line, right? And he basically, his body stops. And Mark Allen and Dave Scott have to prop him up. The guy who's breaking the course record can't stand up anymore because he has absolutely nothing left. Is that fine line between being fit and being fucked?
No, I would not say so. I think that's just how you want to feel at the end of such a race is, and you also, I mean, at that moment, like everything, shuts down when you cross that finish line, and you're just so happy that you don't have to walk a single step anymore. So, I mean, it's just at that moment you're just really happy. You are in a lot of pain, but you are also really happy that you make it. And I think that's the reason why he also absolutely emptied the tank. And I mean, if you ask him now, I think he would say like, yeah, I'm super happy that I absolutely gave it everything, because you never know when's the next chance and how good the next day is. And if you have a day like that, you need to go like with everything you got. It doesn't matter like how big of a lead you have, because now he can be really proud of what he achieved. So what I meant with that saying was more like during the preparation for such a race, you always think you have to do something absolutely extraordinary, something that has never been done before, something that you have never been doing before. You want to set like all records in training. You want to like ride the most miles. You have the most intensity. You want to be as light as possible, and so on and so on. And that's what I meant with that's a thin line between being fit and fucked, because of course you want to be like at your very, very best, but at the same time, usually one step too far and you're just injured and you're not even make it to the start line, or you make it to the start line and you're injured, or you are so absolutely burned out that you are not gonna have what it takes to even go all out in the race anymore. And because you burned all your matches in these crazy training sessions. And I think a lot of people make that mistake, and that's what I was referring to.
So when you look back at your career, what do you look back at as your toughest moment?
I mean, there were definitely also a couple of really, really tough moments, but I think 2018, when I had to drop out in Kona, I think that was a really, really tough moment, because you are ready for everything in this race, and you are ready to suffer a lot. And I was ready to suffer, but then an injury is something you don't want to suffer through, and it's in that moment when you realize, oh, you probably not gonna be able to finish, like your world collapses basically, because you put so much on the line. You worked so hard for that day, and then in that moment it's just really, really tough. And then I mean, there were other tough moments for sure. I think when in Mont Tremblant in 2014, I just won two 70.3 world titles in Vegas, and I went there and I thought I was really, really well prepared and I was really fit, and then I get a shot against Javi Gomez and Jan Frodeno, and I probably had like just the worst day in my triathlon career probably. And when you start the race and you feel like something is just wrong and it's so difficult, and then you're just like my willpower left me basically alone. It was just really bad. But then on the other hand, there's also always things you can take out from such experiences. Yeah.
What do you look back at as your happiest memory from racing?
This year. Happiest moment. I mean, there haven't been a lot of happy moments, to be honest.
No, not just this year. No, your career.
Yeah,
not this year.
I think 2012, when I won my first 70.3 World Championship in Vegas. It was absolutely awesome because, you know, I think not a lot of people had me on the short list for winning this race,
right?
Myself included. And I also thought I would not be the type of guy that performs very well under these very hot conditions we had in Vegas all the time. And it's also, there's after that, you know, after that first big win, you always have these immense expectations about yourself and your performance and so on. So after that first win, it's never the same again to win like your first big title, because then it's just a proof of your status and proof of what you have done, and there's no surprises anymore and so on. So I would say that's really one of the days that really stick. And of course, I mean, there were a lot of other big races and big moments, and I think also races where I won where I thought it would not be possible anymore, like the championship race in Samorin last year. I had a really bad day on the bike, probably also as bad as the day I had in Mont Tremblant, but this time I was really able to fight through and fight till the very end. And then I won it with like 400, 500 meters to go on the run course. And that was really satisfying because I knew I had a pretty bad day, but I didn't give up and still, got the W.
What is it about you? You've been doing this for so long. You've adapted and become better across the board, better swim, bike, run. What is about you that you think has helped to make you a champion?
Ooh. It's that's a big question. I mean, it's a lot of different things. Of course, first of all, it's you have to have a certain luck when it comes to genetics. At one point, I mean, in our sport, there's a lot about work and dedication to details and everything, but you still have to have a certain talent. So, I mean, I can really not do nothing for that or against that. So that's one of the things. And then I think I was very lucky with my parents and their support, how they supported me from the very beginning. I think that's really, really important. And then the next step, of course, is like, you have to be lucky sometimes to meet like the right people, like the right coaches and so on. Yeah. But of course, at the end, it's always about you and your decisions. And sometimes you have to, you have to be dreaming really big. I mean, you can't be afraid of dreaming big. I think that's one of the things. And I did that for a very long time, and then I made a couple of right decisions, I think. Yeah.
What's left for you to accomplish? Is there a win that you haven't gotten yet that you want, or a race that you obviously want to win again?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to have another shot at this place in the background of you, that would obviously is obviously a really big motivation. I think we are in the golden generation, really. That's what I feel when I think about guys like Jan and Alistair and a lot of other like good athletes we have currently in our sport. So, and I think there's not too many chances left for me, and there's not too many chances left to race against these guys, especially not at Ironman World Championships.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's really bitter, obviously, to have one chance taken away this year. But that leaves me even more motivated for next year. So obviously, that would be a big thing. And then I think there's still a lot of races on the calendar I would love to do. I mean, I've been on the same schedule for a very long time. And I mean, this year, obviously, I would have loved to do Ironman South Africa. And that would have been a big goal for this year to win a championship title on another continent. And yeah, I think there's still a lot to do. And like I said, I still enjoy the sport in general. Doesn't matter racing or wins or whatsoever. So yeah, I will definitely be around for a little bit longer if my body allows me to.
Will you be coming to Challenge Daytona?
Absolutely, if they let us in, if it's possible, with the whole situation. I mean, you know, also that a lot of people here, and I mean, obviously the situation is probably not very encouraging, but they tell me you should not have that as a goal. It's totally unrealistic. The race is not gonna happen, and if it's gonna happen, you're not gonna be you don't have a chance to go there. But you know, I don't really care. I mean, the thing is, I train. On Monday I basically started like an 8-week program, like really tough 8 weeks, and it doesn't matter because, you know, one of the main focus for this race will obviously to improve my swim and improve my run. And I mean, it's the one race that basically can turn this year around. And so I am very, very motivated for this race. And if it's not going to happen, or if I won't be able to go there, I had 8 weeks of really good training, and then I probably hate myself enough to deserve a break.
I know that Lionel Sanders is on the velodrome, and I talked to Starkey the other day, and he goes, you know, we have a couple of velodromes here in Chicago. I'm not saying I'm on them, but there's velodromes here. We're training. So, and from talking to Bill down at Challenge Daytona, he said, listen, we've got events here every weekend with 20,000 people in the stands. You know, we're all ahead full. This event's going to happen. So, you know, the big question will be getting out of Europe and being able to get there, and not having.
That's really. I mean, I think you know, when you look at the PTO, they did an awesome job the whole year to support us pros, and especially like the guys that are not at the very, very top, because for us it's obviously a little bit easier. I think if you have established yourself, you know, like you have the social media power and so on to still provide some value to your sponsors. And I just hope they find a way to make it possible. You know, I mean, in tennis, the US Open took place with people from Europe. So why not for us in triathlon? I think would just be fair. And I think if we can make it safe for all of us, and I think that should be possible. I mean, I have already experience with some travels this year, and it was always a little bit more complicated, but I think it was pretty safe for everybody, not just for the athletes, but also you don't want to be any risk to the people at your destination, and you don't want to be a risk for the people when you come back. So I think, but we can make this possible. And at one point, we just need to try to make life more normal without taking unnecessary risks. And obviously for us, basically working in this sport, not just doing it for fun. Obviously it's still fun, but it would be very important to have an event like that. Yeah,
love it. Sebastian, hopefully we will be at Challenge Daytona, so we will.
That would be awesome. Then it's not dinner with Bob.
It'll be
what's for me right now.
brunch or it'll be dinner. It'll be something. But we'll have myself and John, and we're all excited to see you there. Hey, Sebi, thank you so much. Again, we are brought to you by Hoka One One, Credo Tri, Four Seasons Walleye, Challenge Daytona, Form Goggles, Canyon Bikes, Normatec, Amp Human, VeloFix, UCAN, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Sebastian Kienle has been our guest. Thank you, buddy, for taking time. Always a pleasure.